All right. So we'll see who finds us. We'll see who finds us. We'll see who finds us. We shall see who finds us. Okay, so it does look like we are in here. I was just checking the audio. Whoever's in the chat, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. All right. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, awesome. Okay, all right. So I think we're going back. I was checking out the third-party platform I used before. I think we're going to go back to that. I like the fact that the moderators can do that thing here, but it does not seem to be very reliable, which is kind of weird because I never really had problems with YouTube before. And I think I've been streaming for over, or at least posting for a year. So, Jerry, thank you. Welcome back. Okay. So y'all saw the polls, right? And I saw what y'all were essentially saying that y'all don't think anybody will sell their team. Well, remember, Donald Sterling got forced into selling his team. Remember that, right? Donald Sterling was forced to sell the team. Why was he forced to sell the team? Because of the comments that he made on audio, right? Well, think about what we're talking about here. Think about the lawsuit itself, the complaint that's made regarding violation of the Civil Rights Act. Think about the fact that in 2021, the NFL settled what? $1 billion lawsuit because it alleged what? Race norming. It alleged that Black NFL players had lower cognitive functioning than white NFL players, right? So it's already out there. I mean, technically, somebody should have lost their team out after that. Donald Sterling was one person. This is an entire league. Now, why could Donald Sterling settle a lawsuit? And he had to pay a fine of $2.4 million, maybe. But the NFL could settle the lawsuit. But that is blockbuster. And when I was saying it before we got to after the draft, I said it. I said that is blockbuster. That is blockbuster for something like that to have occurred. One, we don't really hear about it, but then here we are with the NFL draft, and we're seeing how Shedeur is being treated. Now, all of the flimsy excuses are to conceal the fact that there is another violation of the Civil Rights Act by the NFL in less than 5 years. In less than 5 years. And it was already documented how badly the NFL discriminates against NFL Black quarterbacks. So everything that has already been alleged, that has already been discussed and settled, is happening again. That's why I said $100 million is not enough. Now, I don't know if that person knew that or not, but they definitely knew that it was a violation of the Consumer Protective Act. And they definitely knew it was a violation of civil rights. They definitely knew it caused emotional distress for themselves and others. And we are here back 5 years violating civil rights of Black NFL players again. Now, there was no Civil Rights Act in 1934. And a lot of things happened between that time. Doug Williams was after 1964. He was in the 1970s. So I maintain these Black quarterbacks in the NFL could have always had a class action lawsuit. Always. But Doug Williams is what? A senior advisor to the Washington Commanders. That's how you keep people from suing. You give them a title, some type of stake in the company that was actually discriminatory against them. So what Shedeur gonna get? I say $500 million. If Deshaun Watson could get $230 million after settling 23 or 24 civil lawsuits, that was misconduct. Shedeur had done nothing wrong. And, now you're starting to hear, is Shedeur a distraction? That is nothing more than preparing you to do what I said the New York Giants was going to do, make a boneheaded move. I said it. I said it. I know some of y'all were on here when I said it. I said the New York Giants are the famous Shedeur Sanders because they trying to justify something stupid they getting ready to do. And it happened. So I'm telling you again, when you start hearing all these talking heads repeating the same phrase, is he a distraction? Because how is he a distraction? Because overtime is recording him? What did Mel Kiper Jr. say when he was visibly upset at the draft? The NFL needs to get over this. All of these students are coming out with millions of dollars in brands. What is NIL? Name, image, and likeness. These students are learning in college. They need to set themselves up as a brand to get these endorsements. So what the NFL is trying to allege on draft night, when somebody tried to justify whoever was talking to Mel Kiper Jr., that his brand is what's holding him back. So you think these students gonna want to come out and play for you now? Now that they know you don't want them to get the bag or you want them to leave the brand at the door? Travis Hunter is a brand. Boogie pointed that out on that Cleveland ESPN podcast. He sure did. Because remember the guy in the green shirt that I told y'all with the selective hate? Remember that? They asked him when Boog pulled out his Travis Hunter logo. One of the guys on the podcast asked Green Shirt, "Oh, you're not going to say nothing about Travis Hunter chain," because they were talking about Shedeur with the chain, as if he's the only person that have a chain. So based on as upset as they are, no other NFL player is a brand, apparently. The NFL expects these players to check their brands at the door if they play quarterback, because they had no problem with Travis Hunter being a brand. Shedeur is Nike. Travis Hunter is Adidas. Cam Ward is Under Armour. So why they worried about Shedeur? Why they not worried about Cam? Why they not worried about Travis Hunter? Why they so worried about Shedeur? Because it's BS. It's just something to say. It is something to say to keep the truth from coming out. We are violating the Civil Rights Act of 1964 all over again, just like we settled a $1 billion lawsuit in 2021. It has been less than 5 years, and we are still doing it. We are still violating the Civil Rights Act. And when it comes to quarterbacks, it gets worse, which is why I shared some of Doug Williams' story. The caption of the post says, Shedeur Sanders' path to the NFL is similar to Doug Williams. Only one coach went to talk to Doug Williams. One. Nobody was going to draft Shedeur round after round after round. Doug and Gibbs suggested that he get drafted, and he did. He went first round, number 17. First black quarterback to do so. And not until Michael Vick was there another black quarterback who went in the first round, number 1. That's a long time between the late 1970s and 2001 or 2005, whatever. I think it was 2001. That's a long time. Hell, if you were born in 1980, how old are you in 2025 or 2001? That's crazy. And it's a testament to how diligent the NFL is and how hard they work to keep these black NFL quarterbacks down. Shedeur Sanders was the most extreme because of what was at stake. It had nothing to do with his brand because NIL been out since 2021. The same year they settled that $1 billion lawsuit for violating civil rights of NFL players. Travis Hunter has a brand. They said nothing. He went what? Number 2 in Shedeur's place. This is not about wide receivers. You don't believe me? Ask Julio Jones. When they paid Matt Ryan, what, $192 million and forgot to pay the receiver that caught the ball. Because they didn't value him. Those people are seen as bodies. They just make money. They don't have no decision-making ability. You come in, get your check, play, make us money, and keep it pushing. Shedeur is a decision maker. He is a quarterback, which is why when Deshaun Watson asked for a trade, they try to put him in his place too. What did Shedeur say? He want to play for a winning team. You ain't got no decisions around here, boy. Circulated on the internet is a post from a movie. I don't know what it's from, where it was a basketball player was talking to a football player or a basketball player was talking to, I guess, some team owners. And the way they were talking to him, they were trying to put him in his place. They didn't want to pay him. They wanted to undervalue him. Same thing happens over and over and over, which is why when you hear people say it doesn't matter where you get drafted, that is a lie. It exactly matters where you get drafted because it determines the money that you make. That is how they get away with devaluing these black quarterbacks, by defaming them. They did it to Lamar Jackson. Oh, he didn't run the 40, so the Heisman winner was justifiable. It was justified that he was pushed down to number 32. No, while his peers went top 10. That's what they did to Lamar Jackson. So I'm telling you, this is not new. This is not new. I saw videos of Deshaun Watson working out. I'm assuming he's not on injured reserve because they don't know if he's coming back or not. But it was always said that Shedeur should have went to Cleveland anyway. Why? Because there was already a black quarterback there. It's no coincidence that Joe Milton left where he was behind Derek May and is now behind Dak Prescott. This is about stacking black quarterbacks. Because if you spread them out, guess who is QB1 for most of the teams? This is what they are trying to avoid. This is what they were trying to avoid last year. But this year, it was undeniable. Nobody thought that they would sacrifice talent in building winning teams. Well, I guess they don't just know the history of the NFL when it comes to black quarterbacks. And history is repeating itself again. So I miss me with Chris Sims. Miss me with he should have had an agent. No, he should have had a lawyer. I said it. You need a lawyer. These people out here defaming you. They tearing you down just like they did Lamar Jackson. The stakes were higher this time. They said Lamar Jackson suffered from the same curse of the dual threat QB that Deshaun Watson suffered from. It's always something. What happened to Shedeur Sanders was ugly, and we as fans were lured into it. And what happened to Doug Williams was disgusting. They didn't want to pay him either. The coaching staff, just like the coaching staff in Shedeur Sanders' situation, defamed him. The coaching staff thought he could publicly berate Doug Williams like they publicly berated Russell Williams and Jalen Hurts. Yeah, they mean they gonna move past it. Both Shedeur and Russell Wilson and seemingly Jalen Hurts are godly people. But you let a player berate a coach, especially a black player. Because when Bo Nix did it to Sean Payton, it wasn't a problem. But when I saw a Houston Texans player had something to say to his coach, oh, it was all over the place. See, they have already set up a system of Jim Crow, a duality in the NFL. It has always existed, and they want to still keep pushing forward with it. But the problem is, how can I do that when blacks are the majority of the starting quarterbacks? And that's the position that I think is the most important. If I believe that blacks are inferior to whites, I cannot let the number 17 QB1 be black, which is why you saw what? Instead of Shedeur and Jalen Milroe, you saw Jackson Dart and Tyler Shaw. Both head scratchers. But I told y'all, Shedeur wasn't going to the Giants. The Giants have never had a black starting quarterback. So all of that talk was just malarkey. BS-ery. That's why they defamed him so hard, so they could justify taking a lesser talented Dart even over Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe was mocked in the first week of mocks to go to number 40 to the Saints. Who went number 40 to the Saints? So, it's not a surprise that Shedeur balled out at camp. They should have been getting a lie ready for what they're going to say to cut it. And I keep telling y'all, don't get y'all feelings hurt. But one thing about it, the fans are pressuring the NFL. The fans are pressuring the Cleveland Browns to do the right thing because the fans want to see good football. Just like I said, the Saints ownership does not care what their fan base wants. The NFL showed us in the draft, they don't care what we want as fans either. Because if they think we wanted to see them publicly humiliate Shedeur Sanders, they're crazy. Especially people that look like Shedeur Sanders and decent people that don't. So all of these flimsy narratives trying to say he should have had an agent, no, he should have had a lawyer. For all the defamation that came before the draft that was intended to justify the BS that was happening to him. It didn't work. It did not work. Y'all might have got y'all way. You might have got your way, but this ain't over. Because now you claim he needed to come to Cleveland and ball out Andrew Berry. Well, guess what? He did. What you gonna do now? Because we know he a QB1. Hell, Dylan Gabriel is too. Why you didn't go and get somebody else instead of Dylan Gabriel? Because he's a person of color. You know, it's Drew Brees was short by y'all standard. You know, Kyler Murray isn't tall by your standard. So yeah, they went in March. They got Kenny Pickett. When they did that move, I said, okay, they trying to block somebody. And now they have Joe Flacco that they decided to donate $4 million to him for nothing. People said he wasn't good when he didn't play. When he played last, he wasn't that good. That's just like Aaron Rodgers. 42 years old, you're trying to make it work because you need these guys' bodies. You need for optics because you don't want Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe being the 17th and 18th Black quarterback that is elite because they will more than likely ascend to QB1. And what came out of minicamp? Shedeur Sanders was the best QB there. And there are people that have already said that he's better than the other two that's on their way. Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. So we're gonna see what they do. We're gonna see what they do. Because they have to make a decision. And I told y'all yesterday, they're gonna need to move very carefully. Very carefully. Very carefully. Fans are speaking out. They are not happy about the way Shedeur was disrespected and defamed and scapegoated. And now how he's being treated in Cleveland when he first got there. And now that he can ball out, what you gonna do now? Because you knew who he was because Cleveland met with Shedeur extensively. And they want to keep up the entitled bull crap. They wanted talking about he need to come in, put his head down and work. As if they weren't on camera when they were talking to Dylan Gabriel and we will put them do a comparison and wonder why the hell are they treating Shedeur this way. This young man just grateful to play the game that he loves. They picked on the wrong person. So Doug Williams' story and Shedeur Sanders' story has a lot in common. It's same but different. Violation of the Civil Rights Act happened in both cases. That one was berated publicly, the other was defamed before he could get to the NFL. I don't know if anybody's crazy to berate Shedeur Sanders publicly. I would hope not. But they did do it to Russell Wilson, and they did it to Jalen Hurts. And they said nothing when Bo Nix had something to say back to Sean Payton, who berated Russell Wilson. They have set up this system of duality. They have set up a system of Jim Crow. And all they did during the NFL draft is tell Shedeur whites only when it comes to elite QB1s. That's what they did. Whites only. That's Jim Crow. They've never left the Jim Crow era. They've never left the plantation era. If so, there is no way that in 2021, they should be quietly settling $1 billion lawsuit for violating civil rights of Black NFL players. So it's not a stretch that is exactly what's happening in 2025, which means they didn't learn nothing in 2021. They are doing it again. But they thought they had something that people would believe that, oh, it's justifiable to treat him this way because he's entitled. We've been watching him since he was in middle school. Many of us been watching since high school. A lot of us since Jackson State. And a gaggle of us since Colorado. The plan that they had didn't work. The prank, which the NFL made possible by sending out his phone number to 2,000 people who did not need to know and lied and hid behind the Atlanta Falcons, they are all hiding behind defamation of Shedeur Sanders because really all they wanted to do at the draft was bring us to come together and watch them put out a white-only sign when it came to quarterbacks who were drafted early. They drafted Cam Ward, if you ask me. After they wanted to sell that pick, they didn't want Travis, they didn't want Abdul Carter, they didn't want Shedeur, and they didn't want Cam Ward. They drafted Cam Ward because they won't think we're racist. That's why they rarely talked about it. That's why they decided to keep that pick. They made the announcement on draft week in the pre-draft press conference held by the Titans. But Cam knew a few days before. So as desperate as they are for a quarterback in Tennessee, why were they still hemming and hawing and trying to go forward with Will Levis when it was obvious that they needed to move on? Because they didn't want Cam Ward. For the same reason they traded Malik Willis. Malik Willis is a dual threat quarterback compared to Lamar Jackson. Thankfully, he in Green Bay, where he actually became their QB1. Now, how does that work? Shedeur Sanders going to have the same path. Go somewhere else who knows what to do with quarterbacks and ball out. Cleveland does not. So when y'all keep hearing over and over and over, Shedeur is a distraction. They trying to get their next line together because they going to cut him. It was already predetermined before the draft that he was going to be cut. Because when the NFL sent out Shedeur Sanders' phone number to a distribution list for 2,000 people, which is all 32 teams and then some, including equipment managers, they attached to the email containing only Shedeur Sanders' phone number a waiver wire transaction report. So they were making fun of Shedeur Sanders like they made fun of C.J. Stroud, like they made fun of Lamar Jackson. Violation of Civil Rights Act again. And it hasn't even been 5 years. That's what they're hiding. The whites only sign at the quarterback position in the 2025 NFL draft. That's why Shedeur Sanders was locked out of the first round. That's why he looked like a first round QB in Cleveland, because he is, and they know it. That's why he was locked out. They didn't want nobody to get the opportunity to take him, not because of Coach Prime, not because they think he's entitled, but because he would be number 17 of 32 starting quarterbacks that are Black. And this year, they have out the whites only sign at the position that they deem the most important. Something that they've done before. They just trying to go back there. So somebody needs to sell their team. And the next lawsuit needs to have that as a remedy, because it worked in Washington. Washington is better for it. Moving on past these plantation fantasies, this needs to stop. Fans, we don't want to be a part of it. We are definitely, as Black people, do not take it too kindly that just in 2021 that the NFL asserted and practiced and had policies in place saying that Black people's brains are inferior, or inferior to whites. So either you don't care about your Black fans, which is crazy because a lot of us are related to your Black players. And I don't know why y'all don't make the connection. You don't want us to care about each other, but we related. That came from slavery. That's where they stuck it. They have not gone past Jim Crow. They have not left the plantation. They fantasize about it. That's why the draft looks like it does. So let me check in the comments and see who here while we still have a platform. While we still active. CT said, yes, we're back. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Jerry, thank you so much. Thank y'all for coming back. I'm back. 32 teams colluded. Yep. Again. Just like they did Lamar Jackson in his free agency and in the NFL draft. I told y'all they love to collude. Herman Flood. Good evening, Herman. The Watchman. It said no, Chris Sims is not a Hall of Fame player. Really? His dad is Phil Sims. Oh, okay. He played for, you guessed it, the New York Giants. Whoa. There's another connection with the defamatory statements. See, I told y'all that's who need to sell the team. That's who need to be forced to sell, because after what happened with what's his name that went to Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley, they sacrificed Saquon Barkley's talent to put Daniel Jones on the pedestal, even though they were a losing team, a losing franchise. They didn't care. That's who needs to be forced to sell because the print came from that direction. Understand the Ole Miss connection is not a coincidence. Archie Manning played for the Giants. Yep. He also went to Ole Miss. Yep. And his son Eli played for the Giants. Also went to Ole Miss. Yep. And now Jackson Dart plays for the Giants. Also went to Ole Miss. That's that connection. It is Ole Miss. It stopped being coincidental after the first one. Right. And I believe that the Mannings had everything to do with Jackson Dart getting to New York. I believe the Mannings run the New York Giants. I believe that that's where the grandson, when he is ready, will come out. And I told y'all, it is highly possible that they didn't want Shedeur because they wanted to wait for Archie. But maybe the fan base wasn't okay with that. Probably because the GM's job is on the hot seat after fumbling Saquon Barkley. But see, this is the problem. This is why the owner needs to sell. Had he held the GM accountable and fired him, we would not be having this conversation. But maybe he left him in place because of the Manning connection, and they wanted to satisfy the Mannings. Because who made the welcome call to Jackson Dart? From the Manning family. Right. Okay. And then when you think about the Mannings, think about the Saints. Think about how the Saints acted. Think about the prank call with the Saints GM. I told y'all we might need to look at the Mannings a little differently. They could have been involved in both, blocking Shedeur from both teams. That explains Tyler Shaw. And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'll be a pebble in the ocean because one thing about God, that pebble could rise right up out of that ocean and fly to wherever he wanted to go. So I'm fine with that. Good evening, family. Hey, Kiel. I was wondering where you were. I was like, wait a minute. I haven't seen Kiel. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So let's talk about the dates since our guy Shedeur seems to still be in New York, unless something changes. All right. So phase 3 of the off-season program. In the next 4 weeks, where teams are allowed to conduct 10 days of organized team activities or OTAs. Thank you, Jared, for that. No live contact is permitted, but 7-on-7, 9-on-7, and 11-on-11 drills are allowed, which is pretty much what we saw in camp. We definitely saw 11-on-11. The Browns OTA off-season workout dates. All right. So they have a pause, in my opinion, until May 27th and May 28th. So that's the last dates in May. Then there's going to be the holiday. Then they're going to come back on June 3rd and June 4th and June 6th. And it says this phase will end with a mandatory veteran mini camp set for June 10th through June 12th. So we have from May 27th with some breaks in between due to the holidays and things like that, officially ending June 12th. So those are the dates. That is what's next. I'm glad we did a comparison. Well, really, I just did a look at Doug Williams. But when I was reading about Doug Williams, I saw the comparison to what's happening to Shedeur, namely the devaluing of Black quarterbacks. That is a trend that has happened with NFL Black quarterbacks, period. So going all the way back to Doug Williams, the first Black quarterback to be drafted in the first round, he went number 17. And then the way we see Shedeur being treated, defamed by the New York Giants coaching staff, and everybody who has something to say could be made anonymous, though. That's the thing. And just the fact that the NFL in 2021 was settling a violation of civil rights, not even 4 years ago, not even 5 years ago. I mean, it's just the same thing over and over and over. So this has to stop. This absolutely has to stop. And the ball is in Cleveland court to do the right thing, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it at all. I'm not shocked that we're starting to hear what they're setting you up for, that they're possibly going to release him. He's not going to make the 53-man roster. In fact, I read an article by somebody today saying that, as Shedeur prepares to try to make the 53-man roster. Shedeur Sanders should not be out here trying for anybody's team if there are other people that don't have to. If Travis doesn't have to try out, neither does Shedeur Sanders. Travis is the face of Jacksonville. I don't know if Cam Ward is the face of Tennessee, but Travis is the face of Jacksonville. Shedeur should be the face of whatever team he should have gone to. If number 2 was Cleveland, then that's who should be the face of the Cleveland Browns. If the Cleveland Browns don't want Shedeur to be the face, then you know what? Trade him somewhere and make sure you handle him with care. But the owner needs to sell the team because leadership starts at the top. The culture starts at the top. The owner has likely set the tone for Cleveland's franchise to feel the way they do about quarterbacks. This is supposed to be about business and competitive sports. It is about anything but. It is about plantation fantasies, Jim Crow, whites only at the quarterback position. That's what it's about. And that's why they're hiding behind these flimsy, he should have had an agent, or he was misguided, or he has a brand. That is ridiculous. Brands have been out. NIL has been active since 2021. So that's a lie too. I know the NFL not trying to tell these multi-million-dollar athletes who have brands and all of these deals with Red Bull and etc. Check your NIL at the door because they're not going to have no top-tier talent. They're going to stay in school because what's already happening is $54 million rosters. Arch Manning already not coming out. And honestly, with what little he has done, he probably could come out with that because of the connections that he had with his family. There are people that have been drafted off the strength of their junior season. Don't think it couldn't happen. And they'll try to justify it. And all they did was push Shedeur down so they could justify their old misconnection at Jackson Dart. That's all they did. That's why Acho tried to rub it in Deion Sanders Jr. face. Somebody need to put his name on a lawsuit. They need to list the Cleveland Browns separately, and they need to throw Emmanuel Acho in there. Not all 32 teams, but the 4. All 32 teams didn't need a QB. They didn't, but it does seem like even if you didn't need a QB, I get what you're saying. But even if you didn't need a QB, you sat quiet. You could have drafted him. You do know the Dallas Cowboys could have drafted Shedeur Sanders. Even Skip Bayless said it. Jerry Jones passing up an $8 million QB. Okay. Tom Brady, come on now. So it's still all 32 teams. People can't wear chains now. Right. That's crazy. And it was so funny on the podcast. Even it was four co-hosts, like a host and 3 co-hosts. Even he was talking about the green shirt, was talking about to Boogie about Shedeur's chains or whatever, trying to basically say he hasn't earned the right to dress like that or to have endorsements. I'm like, what year are you in? You don't know how it goes in college? And that's what got me. I'm like, y'all can't be serious, right? You're trying to hide behind the fact that he's a brand. And he's not the only brand. And that's when Boog pulled out the chain with Travis Hunter on it. And he said, oh, that's the TH. That's Travis Hunter logo. And the third co-host said, it was a guy. He said to the green shirt guy, he said, what you going to say about that? I'm glad there was somebody on there to call him out. He was like, that's Travis. He said nothing. Nothing. Green shirt guy is also the one that you could hear saying, yeah, the quarterback position is the hardest. Did you ever play it? Then how would you know? You gotta listen to people when they talk. Assimilation and the quarterback position is the hardest. I was listening to a clip of Mr. T on a talk show, which looked like the David Letterman show. So it had some age on it. And they asked him, David Letterman asked him about the chains. He said, people always ask me if the chains are heavy. He said, but I don't hear you asking my ancestors. You didn't ask my ancestors if the chains are heavy. He said, I wear this gold because there's a Mandinka tribe in Africa that wears nothing but the finest gold. And they wear gold chains. He said, so I wear it because I'm symbolizing that I made it. You know, he said, I'm honoring my people. It says that I'm good, you know. So I like what he said. He said, did you ask my ancestors if the chains were heavy? So he said, I'm honoring the Mandinka tribe. This is how they dress. This is what we do. And it's always a problem. It seems to me it's always a problem when Black people just want to be themselves. That's where the term assimilate came from. Why does he need to assimilate? Why does he need to be submissive? That's the only reason why they're trying to snatch him away from Coach Prime. Because I can't, you're not going to be submissive if your father is present. Neither is Ashton Genty, neither is Travis Hunter, who has a father. And he popped up at the UCF game and they said he was looking for Richard Sherman. So no, he's not going to be submissive either. See, that's what they're looking for, somebody to be submissive, but these young men don't fit the stereotype. Cam Ward has a father who quit his job to be his agent. I ain't hear nobody complain about that. Why do these players, Black players, need to be submissive? Why does Shedeur need to assimilate to the NFL? Why does he need to, why was he misguided? How is he misguided by his Hall of Fame father? It's funny how the players in Colorado were not misguided. They have Hall of Fame coaches. They good. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, without Will Shepherd, that's what, 14 of 16 or 13 of 16 without Will Shepherd, but he still got invited. So that means Coach Prime had 14 or 16 players in the NFL. So I think Coach Prime is good. Yeah, they push those players down too. And that's what CU needs to have something to say, because that's affecting their program. They try to make it look like it was about Coach Prime. Yeah, maybe there were people who did that on purpose because they tried to hurt Coach Prime recruiting. It's not. I just saw a post saying that there's a big high school recruiting class coming in. It could have been all done to make Juju leave because they still after him. There's other players they could have tried to coach and it didn't work. So it's not about Coach Prime. This might be about holding back Black college coaches because they surely tried to rip a Black father away from his son when Arch Manning can help Jackson Dart get to Ole Miss. Don't think. I told y'all, Jackson Dart went to USC first. I don't know how he get from California to Ole Miss. And then what happened to Shedeur in the draft is exactly what happened to Jalen Milroe in college. So they could put Jackson Dart at number one to try to justify him being better. But if you go read anything about him in college, good luck with that. Tyler Shaw too. There are guys they could have taken. They could have took Quinn Ewers. You know why they didn't take Quinn Ewers? Because he went to UT and not Ole Miss. There's something about that connection. I wonder what it is. So the Saints and the Giants seem like to me that the Mayonnaise might have been involved with both Block and Shedeur from both teams. The Mayonnaise have a legacy there. They have a legacy with the Saints. It's not a coincidence. So we're going to say allegedly. I saw a video of Shedeur Sanders throwing the ball to Peyton Manning when he was young, with Coach Prime, lining up against Peyton Manning. They know Shedeur. So he didn't need an agent. When you in a room with the owners and you having a casual conversation with the general manager, you don't need an agent. Because if he was white, he wouldn't have needed an agent. Believe me. You think Arch Manning need an agent? Okay. Did Eli Manning have an agent? Because it was his daddy that made the phone call to the NFL that said he don't want to go to the Chargers and he not going to the Chargers. Did he have an agent? Duality, whites only, Jim Crow, plantation fantasies. The NFL is not what we thought. It's not about winning. The draft showed us it's not about drafting for talent, which means it's not about winning games. They have Dak and other forward interviewing for QBs, as I understand. Oh, you're talking about Dallas. Is that Bridget? Thank you. It said that's an American way, unfortunately. Unfortunately. And, I don't know why we thought it was any different. Maybe because the league is majority Black, and how did you get away with that? What was his name? Chris Carter actually came out and made statements saying Shedeur has a brand. He can't do that. Excuse me? That's why y'all go broke. That's why y'all go broke right now. You see what I'm saying? I said to when we were talking about Cam Newton, and this is not about him, but during the time period we were talking about him hating on Shedeur Sanders, I asked the question: is Cam Newton hating on Shedeur Sanders and Richard Sherman hating on Travis Hunter because they didn't have NIL and Travis and Shedeur are both about 6 and 3 million respectively at the time? Travis is 6 million, Shedeur is 6 million when they came out of CU. To me, that's what I think is wrong with some of these older Black players. For Chris Carter to say he has a brand, he can't do that. You sound crazy. All of these kids have brands. How do you think they have Red Bull deals? How do you think they have Nike deals? Travis has the Stanley Cup. How do you think he got that deal? Because he's a brand. When he worked out at CU, he had his brand on his t-shirt. On the back, it said Travis Hunter. I like the shirt. I have a Travis Hunter shirt because he's a brand. But Travis Hunter is a receiver, so they don't care. Shedeur Sanders is a quarterback, the hardest position. Therefore, he needs to assimilate. He needs to be submissive. That's what they want him to assimilate to. They knew who Shedeur was at the Super Bowl. They knew who he was since his father played for the Falcons and had children. They know the whole family. Shiloh Shine, the cameras was in his face just like at the Shrine Bowl. They love him too. They didn't draft him either. They weren't going to draft Shedeur. They were not. And people are saying, yeah, all 32 teams didn't need quarterbacks. It can be looked into to see who need what, who knew what, who agreed to do what. Let's see what happens with his time in Cleveland. Let's see. Thank you, Angela. Bridget said, yeah, I'm just now beginning to calm down from the draft weekend. Super disturbing. Yeah, it's a lot of people that were upset by that because you could see that this is a good kid. Why are y'all doing this? And that's not what the draft is about. I even have a post from somebody inside the NFL that says there's people running around with narratives that's embarrassing for the NFL. Was it embarrassing when the owners lifted the word entitled from the New York Giants coaching staff and used it against Shedeur to take him off the board, which means they weren't going to draft him? The lawsuit has legs. They need protection. We'll see what happens. And we back. Yes, we are. We are back. Dylan Gabriel is not. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. They fear the type of kid. Yeah, because see, the problem is they seem to have worked some of these other players into submission. And it's hard to take a Black man that has a father who's present in his life that has taught him to believe in himself and break them down like they try to do Shedeur. As you can see, he's still standing. Like he said, he doesn't let that negativity live in his mental space. They probably mad that he even made it to the league when they tried so hard to keep him out. Don't be, what you think? They changed their mind? No, they didn't. That's why you're starting to hear the distraction narrative. That's why you're starting to hear it, because they on to the next. Okay, well, we had to draft him, but we don't have to keep him. Let me see when they cut it. If they cut it. I think they are. They had already decided to do it. They arrogant. They clearly don't care what the fan base thinks. And since all the top tier talent probably making more money than most rookies are anyway, they're going to stay in school because they're not giving up their brands. You think your kids giving up the bag to come to the NFL? They want them to come in and everything that you built up, I want you to put it to the side. Why can't they just continue it in the NFL? Why can't they have endorsements in the NFL? Does not any NFL players have endorsements? If so, who is it? Maybe we need to talk about that next. Maybe I need to start looking into seeing who out here have commercials. I remember NFL players did have commercials at one time. So maybe we need to look into that. I think Lamar Jackson was just in a TV show, the same one. I think that, no, he was in Raising Kanan. Shiloh was in BMF. Shedeur and Shiloh walked in the Louis Vuitton And that was what the guy in the green shirt said. You know, you might want to come prove yourself before all of the Louis Vuitton. What the hell is he talking about? Them walking in the fashion show last year? Or is he talking about what they can afford to buy? And that's none of his business. Why is he worried about that? Just like he was worried about who Bug was. Oh, there was 8 different rumors going around as to who you were. Now, that's just nosy. That's just nosy because nobody was asking about you. So they got it in for him. So, you know, I'm glad Boog and them are up there with him. I'm hoping that Deion Sanders Jr. is somewhere on the ground because they thought Boog was Deion Sanders Jr. and they don't look like. So maybe Deion Sanders Jr. is up there because he definitely needs to be. So it says Giants are whack. Cleveland is whack. Yeah, these are 2 teams. If you ask me, both of them need to sell. But since we probably got to pick, let's start with the Giants. We'll get back to the Browns. And I'm telling you, if it happened with the NBA, it can happen because you don't even know why the NBA decided to force Donald Sterling out. They could have been facing a lawsuit. The NFL is facing a lawsuit, and there is definitely documented violations of Civil Rights Act and other things. Y'all watch what God gonna do. Yep. That's why I said they are definitely they picked the wrong person. You know how they say you got the right one. They say when black people say you got the right one, you indeed did not get the right one. So I said they picked the wrong one, but they got the right one because everybody is showing up. Somebody sent me a comment on what she said page that they got that number 12 jersey already. So what number are y'all gonna get? I'm gonna drop a poll and ask the question. But y'all drop in the comments the 2 or the 12 on what y'all want to get, what you plan to get, what you're thinking about getting, or what you would get. Let me know. 2 or 12, drop it in the chats. If I see a 2, I know that means you want a 2 jersey. If I see a 12, I know that means you'll get a 12 jersey. I'm still holding out for 2. A turquoise one. Orange and brown are my favorite colors, but I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Disrespectful. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Angela. Terrence said, Shedeur came in needing nothing and didn't need an owner saving a black kid from poverty, syrup sandwiches. They hate that he have a daddy that's present. Right. And you know what's crazy to me? I think they really in their feelings because, I mean, when they said he didn't have an agent, Coach Pride was steering him through the process. I bet if I go look up the agents of some other people, they didn't have one either. These are non-negotiable contracts. There are no incentives. It is what it is for 4 years. And to be honest with you, it has nothing to do with that. They just don't want to say out loud what it is. And that's where lawsuits and courtrooms come from, or settlements. If they settled $1 billion lawsuit in 2021 violating civil rights, they might settle this one for $100 million. Russ is a GOAT. Yeah. In my opinion, Shedeur probably watched Russ go through some things. It wouldn't be surprised me if Russ hit him up and say, look, don't listen to none of that. Keep it pushing. Because I actually applaud Russ for the way that he was treated in Denver. For the way, he was treated by Sean Payton on the field, which was just like Doug Williams, how he goes to Pittsburgh and he balls out there and they get to the playoffs and they push him out. And then they send him to the Giants. And why on draft night, when they drafted Jackson Dart, did they issue a statement? That's probably a lie, saying that Russell Wilson is a starter. That is just something to say. We're going to see what they do. We're going to see what they do. So they tried to hype up their camp. I don't even know who paid attention. Kiel, did you pay attention to the Giants mini camp? Since I know you a fan, let me know. Barbara said 144. That's the one I want, Barbara. That's the one I want. Bucky got hoodies with 144 on it now. The rejected will be respected. Absolutely. Miss Pamela, Cleveland should trade one of those QBs to Tampa Bay for Shiloh so he can play with Shedeur. That is a good idea. They ain't going to do it, but it's a good idea. I'm hoping that some of the people that we thought were going to end up together actually end up back together. That's what I'm hoping. Oh, I saw a video. Y'all know I told y'all, what's his name? Lejante, his girlfriend, Janaya. I think that's her name, if I'm saying it correctly. Jania or Janaya. She's a blogger and, she's a creative. I posted about them before. She posted a video. I have it in my phone of how hard it was to tell LeJohntay bye since he was leaving for like 7 weeks for camps, practice, OTAs, etc. And then, she was posting how she was doing her hair. And then she has like videos of them on the way to the airport and stuff like that, like real reality. So she could really, in my opinion, put together a reality series about them. But I like them. And I'm under the comments saying, I just love y'all so much. I'm always under the comments with hearts and faces with them because they so cute. They met at FAU, which is where LeJohntay, which is, I do believe, the school that Shedeur committed to for college before going to Jackson State with Coach Prime. So I think that's how, maybe Shedeur knew LeJohntay. So, yep. What does it say? I saw a major network saying that Shedeur ain't mad enough about falling in the draft. Whatever. They, I told y'all Shannon Sharpen and then was saying that they felt like the league trying to get at him. They clearly don't know him. His nickname is Grown for a reason. And when you grow up with two older brothers, and if y'all saw that show, his little sister and Shiloh was beating up on Shedeur. The little sister was something else. I was like, oh, okay. What's going on here? The little bit I did see. So Shedeur not worried about him, middle child. He's not worried about them folks. And why they so worried about him like that? They should be happy they have somebody that can make money. And that's exactly what Trump was pointing out. He knew they were not making business decisions. And that's why he called them stupid. Mike Tomlin he couldn't pull strings. And you know what? He could not, like he did with Russ and Justin Fields. And that's what he was going to do. But they told him out the gate, they told Mike Tomlin out the gate in a caption that was actually posted that Mike Tomlin is being advised to draft Shedeur Sanders and make him QB2 behind Shedeur Sanders. And that's why I keep telling y'all, everything you saw happening with Shedeur was to prevent him from being QB1. I'm dead serious about that. That's why he was locked out of the first round. That lawsuit has legs. It has legs. They need protection to get from under it. That's why they didn't respond to it yet. Because if they thought it was flimsy, they would have responded day one. Right now, they're trying to get somebody to help out. I need a judge. I need some lawyers. I need this, that, and the other. I need fans to forget. I don't want to go to court, but I got to do something because I can't go to court. Because it just happened to the tune of $1 billion. Hell, when I saw what they were suing for, I'm like, were they watching my podcast? Because I don't know how many times I said collusion, defamation, and discrimination. Racism, that's what I called it. That's what I called it. And those are the three things in the Consumer Protection Act, civil rights, and something else. And the emotional part, I was like, I need to get on there. I need to get on there. As I said, they better move carefully. There are people out here that's waiting to see what happens with Shedeur